What makes a good football rivalry? Is it hating an opposing team's quarterback so much you throw dildos at him?
Third season in a row that someone has thrown a sex toy on the field during a Bills home game against the Patriots.
Is it learning your opposition's girlfriend's phone number and reciting it to him over and over and over again during the game like Shannon Sharp did to Derek Thomas until Derek Thomas drew multiple personal foul penalties? Is it Antonio Brown versus himself? Sure, but why have the Bills and Chiefs emerged as the best rivalry in the NFL? Oh, is it this?
Kansas City takes the lead with a minute to go.
Or maybe this?
Down the middle to the end zone, and there it is!
And yes, of course, this.
Down the middle, oh my goodness! It's going to be a 48-yard attempt.
What makes a good rivalry is pretty simple. It's two very good teams playing each other frequently with their games always being good. Having two elite quarterbacks can turn that into an all-time great rivalry, and we are just beginning what could be one of the best ever with the Chiefs and Bills. They provide the best show on turf every time they play on grass. And as a Broncos fan who is indeed on the grass, it's just nice to see someone able to beat the Chiefs. But after the Bills' big win this week, I wanted to dive into this and discuss what truly makes an all-time rivalry and why it's incredibly rare and how we are witnessing a pretty big changing of the guard for NFL folklore.
Coin toss.
Today's episode is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Now, if you want to test your skills against me in weekly fantasy leagues, I lost all of them last week, download the Underdog app or go to underdogfantasy.com and use my code THATSGOOD. There's a link below for this week's contest. I'll have the details in the description, but as soon as that league is full, the draft starts. Most will be 6 rounds. It's pretty simple. It's a fantasy league. You play against me, you draft your team in my private league, and whoever scores the most points in the top 3 spots wins. If you want to use your brain for pick'em games and live in one of the qualifying states, you can win up to 20 times your money. Build a pick'em entry with 2 to 5 players and guess higher or lower in stat totals for the week, or pit 2 players' stats against each other in the Rivals contest. Again, use my code THATSGOOD or the link below, and Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. Every game the Josh Allen-led Bills have played the Patrick Mahomes-led Chiefs have been competitive. Thrilling, if you will. Now, their first meeting back in 2020 was actually a pretty close game despite the final 26-17 score, and it ended similarly to the way Sunday's just concluded. Josh Allen, with about a minute on the clock, throws a desperate ball picked by Kansas City after scrambling away from pressure. We got the rare sighting of a Patrick Mahomes game-ending pick on Sunday as pressure pushed him to throw early. These picks certainly ended the first and last meeting between these two teams, and typically Allen and Mahomes strike fear into opposing fans' hearts when they have the ball last. Now, most of the great long-lasting rivals in the NFL are between divisional opponents. There's history there, decades and decades of tough games, even when one team sucks. There's bragging rights at stake between the fan bases. But that's not what I'm talking about today, because that doesn't necessarily translate to good football for anyone watching outside of those fan bases. I'm talking about the rivalries that emerge above divisions. Rivalries that we will talk about until the world is either covered in fire or water and we're all dead. I'm talking about when two quarterbacks catapult themselves into the unsolvable debate about who is actually better, who play on well-coached teams and deliver every single time they meet. And I think we take these elite battles for granted in the NFL. Now, there are some other nice ones, but they're short-lived, exciting, good rivalries. But what we're seeing right now is rare. When I say short-lived, I'm thinking about, I don't know, like the Saints and Vikings having a little bit of a thing in the playoffs. The 49ers always beating Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the playoffs, but the Packers need to participate in that by winning. Justin Herbert and Derek Carr playing for a final playoff spot in the final game of the season, making us think this will be a great battle again the following season, only to see one of those teams implode. Think about how rare it is to get what we are seeing with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and the Bills and the Chiefs for a minute. Currently, there are no other contenders around the league. The NFC doesn't have anything to offer. You could talk about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, but that was another short stint. If the Packers didn't collapse as soon as the regular season ended and Tom Brady didn't actually get old, maybe there'd be something there. And Tom Brady is now old, you could have had a mini rivalry dynasty. Maybe if the Ravens and Bengals get their shit together, Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson could get in this discussion. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady simply owned their divisions, respectively, for too long. No quarterbacks close to their caliber ever entered the NFC North or the AFC East during their tenure. Their toughest opponents were Jay Cutler, Mark Sanchez, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and as soon as Josh Allen entered, Brady was like, peace out. What I'm getting at here is you need really good quarterbacks for these elite rivalries to form. When I name these QBs and teams, they're not synonymous with one major threat or rivalry, right? The Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers, Drew Brees and the Saints. Dan Marino's biggest rival was his own shitty defense.
That defense is...
All of these Batmans need a joker for the rivalry thing to work. Great quarterbacks typically play about 15 to 17 years. That number seems to be increasing, but we get a 15-year chunk to develop these transcendent matchups. It's tough for that shit to happen organically. Remember when we all thought we were about to get it with Phillip Rivers and Jake Cutler? Well, that was cute. Before Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, which was the last great elite rivalry, we're talking about who? Troy Aikman and Steve Young? It could have been John Elway and Joe Montana if Joe played for the Chiefs for a decade. Don't want to think about that. Jim Kelly and Dan Marino lasted a long time. Dan Marino and Ken O'Brien briefly had a nice rivalry. And of course, you had some greats in the 70s with matchups like Terry Bradshaw and Ken Stabler. Now, Marino and Kelly did meet in the playoffs 3 times, with Kelly's Bills winning all 3. So the lack of the Dolphins winning those games and the Bills going 0-4 in the Super Bowl, that matchup never turned into an all-time rivalry, which means the pressure really is on the current Bills to beat Kansas City in the postseason and for Josh Allen to get to the Super Bowl and win. Allen needs a ring for this rivalry to get to that next level. It has to feel like the only thing that can stop the Chiefs is the Bills, and vice versa. The NFL is much smarter now in how it schedules games, so I do not think we will have a season where Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes don't face off in the regular season, setting us up for another matchup in the postseason, unless of course there's injuries. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning could have had an even crazier rivalry, but each QB missed a full season. Brady in 2008, Manning in 2011, both with injuries. Now, I'm pretty sure they played every season against each other outside of those. Had Tom Brady stayed in the AFC, who knows what would have happened between him, Mahomes, and Josh Allen. All I do know is Three's Company isn't just a great title for an old TV show. Since Peyton Manning retired, though, after the 2015 NFL season, we really haven't had what we are starting to finally see between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, except for maybe Mahomes and Brady. That's a great example of how good both of those assholes really are, isn't it? After Manning retired, Brady replaced him with Mahomes for a little bit, and after Brady left for the AFC, Mahomes replaced Brady with Allen. However, the Mahomes-Brady rivalry never truly came to fruition because Mahomes couldn't beat him in the playoffs and then lost to his Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady became the greatest rivalry, the Colts and the Patriots, and then the Broncos and Patriots, possibly in NFL history because either player's team could win. While Brady has the better all-time record against Manning at 11-6, Peyton beat Brady 3 out of 5 times in the postseason, including 2 of 3 in championship games. There's got to be that give and take. Here's the important thing, the thing that makes these really, really rare. Not only do both quarterbacks and teams have to be great, they have to play in great games against each other. Nobody did that better than Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. 2006, Manning overcame a 21-3 deficit to bring the Colts to his first Super Bowl appearance by beating the Patriots. 2003, the Patriots beat the Colts 38-34 when Willie McGinnis called game on a goal line stop against Edgerrin James. 2009, Indy wins 35-34 after Bill Belichick went for it on 4th and 2 from his own 28. It didn't matter when the games happened, they were always amazing. And now we're seeing that with the Bills and the Chiefs. In the last 3 seasons, these two teams are 2-3, and one of those losses the Bills suffered was, of course, the no coin toss overtime game in the playoffs last season. That game was so good that you didn't need to be a fan of either team to just be fucking wowed by how great football can be. The Bills may have lost in overtime, but nobody walked away from that game feeling like the Chiefs were clearly the better team. It's more like, oh, they were lucky to get away with that one. That's how every game should feel when you have a true Tier 1 rivalry in the NFL. In the last 3 seasons, the Bills have had to play in Kansas City 4 straight times. The fact that they are 2-2 in those games is incredibly impressive, especially knowing how hard it is to win at Arrowhead. Brady, Manning, they sort of lived and died with having home field advantage in their rivalry, specifically in the postseason. For instance, in their 17 total matchups, Brady was 8-2 at home, while Peyton was 4-3 at home. Interesting that 75% of the regular season matchups were at Foxborough, but I digress. You know how to tell when a quarterback is good? It's how much you fear him coming back onto the field when there's less than 2 minutes left in the game. That's really the only marker you need to determine how good a guy is. On Sunday, the Bills scored a lead-taking touchdown with a little over a minute on the clock. Not a single person watching thought the game was over though, with Mahomes trotting onto the field, having 2 timeouts and a minute to play. It would have been the same feeling if Josh Allen were in the same situation. Just for example, the divisional round playoff game in January of 2022 featured 25 points scored in 4 lead changes in the final 2 minutes alone. It would take the Bears and Commanders a full month to accomplish those numbers. Now we have seen these two quarterbacks throw a shit ton of unbelievable passes, not just throughout the course of a game, but when the game is on the line. Think about that last second throw to Gabe Davis that split 2 Chiefs defenders that was topped only by Mahomes doing the same damn thing on a throw to Travis Kelce that got the Chiefs into field goal range. Other quarterbacks could make these throws, but I don't think other quarterbacks had the same chemistry with their receivers or the confidence to actually make it happen consistently when the game is on the line. That, in addition to all of the other things I've talked about, helps build these rivalries, and right now, no 2 teams can compete with what the Bills and the Chiefs display when they meet. I mean, we all believe we will see both of these teams play again in the playoffs this season. It's assumed at this point. And that's in a league you can't assume shit. When the Bills and Chiefs play, you can't not watch if you intend to call yourself a real football fan. It's not just that the games are usually close. The Denver Broncos should be a warning to how close games can be a really nice treatment for insomnia. These Chiefs-Bills games are must-watch television. Cool shit happens every single time they play. Josh Allen seems to always hurdle a dude. Patrick Mahomes always escapes at least 2 would-be sacks on the same play. And just when you think he's the slipperiest motherfucker alive, Josh Allen then mimics him. Their skill players always make plays, albeit the Chiefs have lost a little bit of their sting without Tyreek Hill. And while the game in the playoffs saw both teams abandon defense in the waning minutes, their most recent matchup saw a lot of very good defense keep the game close. Von Miller and Chris Jones each getting sacks. The only thing this rivalry is truly missing is hate. Andy Reid is too docile. Sean McDermott, too nice. Patrick Mahomes has been beaten into submission by his family. He has no energy left not to be nice. Josh Allen, too likable. The most aggressive thing Allen has ever done is challenge Patrick Mahomes to a throwing contest, which would be fun considering their arms have been compared since day one. Hell, they even played together in that golfing match against Rodgers and Brady. It's just that everybody's too nice. The best we've gotten is Ed Oliver taunting the hell out of Chiefs fans as they file out of Arrowhead. The funny thing about Mahomes versus Allen is I didn't even mention that sneaky ass Joe Burrow beat both of them on the way to last year's Super Bowl. He really is like Kevin McAllister, foiling the plans of the real stars of that movie in Harry and Marv. Except he sends them home alone. My point is, Joe Burrow could sneak into this mix, but do we trust the Bengals? I don't think so. See you at the AFC Championship game when it's Bills-Chiefs. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports Rivalry Edition. Please subscribe here on YouTube and make sure you check out whatever stupid video YouTube puts on the screen for you right now. They say you'll like it.